They say life begins at the end of your comfort zone. For me, that beginning was an 11-hour flight from Jakarta to London, with trembling hands and a suitcase full of dreams I hadn't yet dared to speak aloud. I had always dreamed of speaking English fluently, not just the stiff textbook sentences we rehearsed in school, but the flowing, confident English of movies and novels, of leaders and storytellers. I wanted to feel free in the world, to belong in conversations instead of just understanding them from the sidelines. When I got the scholarship to study English in London, I thought I was ready. But nothing, absolutely nothing, prepared me for the silence of loneliness in a city bursting with sound. It hit me the first night. My room was cold, and the walls were blank like unwritten pages. Outside, London was alive, buses roaring, people laughing in accents I barely understood. I stepped out for dinner, walked into a small kebab shop, and when the man behind the counter asked, "What can I get you, love?" I froze. Words failed me. I mumbled something, pointed at a photo, and left with food but no dignity. That moment stayed with me. The next few days were no better. At school, my classmates spoke with ease, some from Spain, others from Turkey, Korea, Brazil. Even when they made mistakes, they laughed it off and kept talking. I stayed silent, afraid of sounding stupid. Every time I tried to speak, my tongue twisted, my thoughts scattered, and I felt like an outsider trapped in my own mind. But then, something changed. Her name was Mia. Mia was from Italy, loud, energetic, and kind. She sat next to me in class and always made it a point to include me in group work. One day, she leaned over and said, "You know, I used to be terrified of speaking English too. But I realized, nobody's judging, everyone's too busy worrying about their own mistakes." It was so simple, yet it unlocked something in me. That weekend, I forced myself to go to a language exchange event at a cafe in Soho. My palms were sweaty, my heart raced, but I introduced myself to a girl named Hannah from Japan. We talked about the weather, about missing our families, and laughed over the strange British slang. It wasn't perfect English, but it was mine. Real, alive. Slowly, my world began to expand. I found a part-time job at a small bookstore in Notting Hill. On my first day, I had to ask a customer if they needed help finding something. I practiced the sentence 10 times in my head before saying it out loud. The man smiled and said, "You're doing great." It felt like applause. The months flew by. My vocabulary grew not from textbooks, but from conversations on buses, podcasts I listened to on rainy walks, and debates over coffee with my classmates. I learned how to argue gently in English, how to flirt shyly in English, how to comfort someone in English. Each word I learned wasn't just a part of the language, it was a piece of who I was becoming. Still, the journey was far from easy. There were days when I felt like giving up. Like when I misunderstood my professor's instructions and missed an assignment deadline. Or when I called my mother back home and burst into tears because I felt homesick and exhausted. She told me, "Remember, Nak, why you're there. You are building something powerful inside yourself." Her words were in Indonesian, but they strengthened my English soul. One of the most powerful moments came near the end of the course. We had to give a 5-minute presentation. Public speaking, even in my native language, had always terrified me. But this time, I spoke about my journey, from the kebab shop to the bookstore, from silence to expression. I spoke with trembling hands but a steady voice. When I finished, there was a moment of silence, and then applause. Not polite applause, real applause. I saw tears in my teacher's eyes. Mia gave me a thumbs up from the back. I had found my voice, not perfect, but true. When the course ended, I didn't feel like I was leaving London. I felt like I was carrying a piece of it with me, tucked into my sentences and stitched into my confidence. My English was no longer a barrier. It was a bridge, to friendships, to opportunities, to a better version of myself. Looking back now, I realize English didn't just teach me grammar and vocabulary. It taught me courage. It taught me how to fail and keep going. It taught me to listen deeply and to express myself even when it was hard. So if you're on your own language journey, feeling lost or frustrated, don't give up. You're not just learning a language. You're building a new world for yourself, one word at a time. And somewhere in London, under the cloudy sky and beside the red buses, I found not just a second language, but a second self. One that believes, tries, and speaks, no matter how broken the sentence, because every word is a victory. And that, my friend, is where the real journey begins.